Hi there, and thank you so much for joining me today. I have the privilege of having the squarpinstruments Hapax right in front of me, a powerful sequencer that I've been exploring over the past few weeks now. And I had been getting lots of comments from people asking me to try this out since I have a bit of experience with the Deluge, the Oxy1, the OPXY, and now I finally get to try out one of the final bosses in sequencing, which is the Hapax. Now, just to be clear here, this is not my final review of the Hapax. These are my first impressions after I've been learning and using it for a couple of weeks. And it's just that while I've been learning it, I've been mumbling to myself all the time, wow, that's genius, wow, that's cool, wow, I didn't know we could do that. So I thought it might be cool to share with you. Before we start, a brief disclaimer, squarpinstruments did send me Hapax for me to review free of charge. They're not paying me or sponsoring this video, and they have no say in my opinions here whatsoever. This video does have a sponsor though, my good friends at Analog Cases, but a bit more on them later. So if you're unfamiliar with the Hapax, this is a MIDI controller. That means that it has no sounds that it can make by itself. It needs to be hooked up to synths or drum machines or something to create that sound. But this will be controlling pretty much everything you can throw at it. And it's pretty amazing just how much of that control is available here. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about with regards to the Hapax is that when you come face to face with something like this, it can be daunting at first. Like when I first tried out the Octatrack or even the Oxy1, you kind of get the feeling this is going to have a very steep learning curve. Even though this thing is immensely powerful and fully featured, they've made it in such a way that's actually really easy to learn and get to grips with. I'm very happy to report that the learning curve on this has been surprisingly and welcomely very, very smooth and easy. It's mostly because you get pretty much button per function. You get this little shift second button here that lets you get into the secondary functions if there are any, which are also labeled. And the two screens provide you with so much information on hand that it's really easy to navigate just very quickly. The manual is about 180 pages long, and I basically read through it in 2 days, and I feel like I have a pretty good grip on this thing already, which is pretty amazing considering the Octatrack took me years. The second thing that I want to get into is just the great visual feedback that you get, and one of the major standouts here is the second screen. Now, at first, I'll be honest, I thought it was a bit gimmicky. I didn't think you actually needed two screens, like the Electron boxes all managed to put all their information in just one, but boy was I wrong. This thing is the sauce. I want this on every single device. Second screen, mandatory from now on. Now, what you're seeing here is a basic Ableton Live layout where the patterns go in columns. So track 1, 2, 3, 4 have patterns 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And you can trigger them in rows if you want to, or you can trigger them individually. Nothing new here. What's very, very cool, and that's where the second screen comes in, is if you go into the step view, you get something that you don't usually see in one of these types of sequencers, where you get the steps and the actual pattern laid out all before you. Now, why is this important? When you're navigating these grids, one of the things that can get a bit confusing is when you start trying to navigate where you are, because you flip through these pages, and at least to me, it's not always clear where I am or where that troublesome note that I want to edit actually is. Now, this is one of my favorite ways of editing on a hardware sequencer. And that's because you can zoom in and you see this little window here. It's going to get tighter and tighter. And when I press play, I can go back to that window and basically loop this. You can also set a loop if you want to just stick to that. But I find this so useful that I can go here, start looping, and find the note that I'm looking for. Not only that, I can go up, down, these little lines over here, the octave intervals, and I can actually find the notes that I'm looking for. This has really been one of the most satisfying ways to edit a MIDI sequence outside of a DAW, because you can actually see where you are. And how far you can actually zoom in is crazy. That is nuts. So yeah, this thing has spoiled me, and now I need a second screen on any device that I have. I have been doing this for about 5 years already, and I have been using Analog Cases for about 7? I'm not sure, I had to check, but I'm pretty sure the first case that I bought, way before I even had a YouTube channel, was an Analog case, and I just love the quality, the style, and they've only been getting better. This is the OPXY case, which comes with a very, very cool kind of velvety, I guess, I'm not sure, furry interior. It's just amazing quality, great style. They have stuff for MPCs, synths, your MacBook, you name it. If you use my link down below, you actually get a 10% discount in whatever purchase you want. Whenever you buy from Analog Cases, I get a small kickback from that, and that helps me keep this channel alive and well, so I can keep showing you what the music options are for electronic musicians like us. Thank you so much, Analog Cases, for supporting me and other creators like me. Now, back to the video. Now, let's move on to the next thing that I find that is just so useful and musically inspiring, which is the chord mode when you're in live. Now, live means that if I play something here, I'm playing chords. Right now I'm in a major scale, and this will tell me what chord I'm playing. These are octave up, octave down. But that's not what the real cool thing about this is. What's very cool is that you have these modifiers over here. So it'll tell you -2 octaves, -1 octave, +1 octave, and so on. Transpose 1, transpose 2, spread down. Listen to that. Spread down 2 octaves. That sounds beautiful. You also get the option of playing either 3-note chords on this top row or 4-note chords on this bottom row. And that by itself would already be very interesting. But what's cool is that you can actually start stacking these chord modifiers by pressing second, or I'm just going to call it shift. And let's say I wanted this, but with spread down. There it is. I can stack up to 8 modifiers. So let's say bass to the 5th. Listen to that. Oh, one last thing. You get auto inversion. Basically, if you're playing on something and you skip around the chords up and down too much, it kind of sounds weird. Instead, what pianists do is that when they're playing something, they move their fingers as less they can. So for example, if I'm playing a C chord, C major chord, and I want it to move to the A minor chord, I'll just move the 5th over here to the root. So these two remain the same. And that makes the transition a bit more pleasant to the ear. So this makes your voicings try to keep this kind of together to not jump around as much. I absolutely love that function. Okay, so another great feature when you're playing this on live mode is that if you go out of chord and go into scale, you get your usual isomorphic keyboard, right? Well, we've all seen these. But my major issue with these kinds of layouts is that besides the root note, I usually have no idea what chord I'm playing. Here's where the genius of Hapax comes in. Let's say I play this little triangle. It'll, in real time, tell me I'm on F major. If I move this up, B diminished. Let's move that up, E minor. I haven't seen this in other sequencers, and if you know of any, please let me know down in the comments, because I find that that is just so useful, because if you find a nice chord that you like here, you can actually see what that is. That is just genius. Again, finally, the effects. Now, of course, as I said before, this is a MIDI controller. It has no audio effects, so there's no real delay or reverb possible here. But they do some very interesting things with MIDI messages. So you go into effects, and you have a whole roster of, for example, ARP, chants, echo, envelopes, Euclidean, harmonizers, LFOs. You get a whole bunch of options to really start making some very cool and very controllable new sequences. I'm not a huge fan of just randomly generating anything, which of course you can do here in Algorithm. I like a bit more tight control on my sequences. And let me show you what I did with this pattern over here. Let me mute this. Nothing to write home about, right? But if we go into the effects, I'm gonna add an ARP. And now I'm gonna add an echo, which is basically kind of a MIDI delay. Now I'm gonna add a harmonizer, which is gonna add 3 notes, which I can set. And now I have a very strange evolving, not sure if evolving, but very strange and cool new sequence. And when we put that together with the rest of these things, okay, so that's basically what I've been loving about the Hapax so far. If you're a Hapax user, I would love to know what your favorite features are so I can dig in. I'm gonna just show you a pattern that I must have made in like 5 minutes or something. I'm a total newbie, but this has been so much fun. And let me play you out. Here, the TO5 is providing the nice analog pad. The OPXY is providing drums and a few little sprinkles of synthesis over there. I really hope you found this video useful, or at least entertaining. I can't thank you enough for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time.